How you doing, folks? Scott here with Dorsten Custom Firearms. Starting the next project. We're starting to get components in, and what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to go over an overview of a custom rifle build. This is going to be a custom scout rifle, and if you are not familiar with the scout rifle concept created by Jeff Cooper, you can read about it in Jeff Cooper's book, The Art of the Rifle. That's Jeff right there, Colonel Cooper. And this project is going to try and follow his guidelines as a scout rifle as closely as we possibly can within our budget and within our available components. That being said, this is not the first scout rifle I've built. I've built many others before. I have one sort of scout. Let's just go over what we're talking about first. So a scout rifle the concept is designed to be the jack of all trades. Okay, it doesn't do any one job perfectly, but can do any job adequately. And when I mean by adequately, we're talking about defense, we're talking about fighting, we're talking about hunting, we're talking about sniping. Okay, this gun is not purpose built for any one of those. It's purpose built for all of them. Okay, like I said, jack of all trades. Very handy rifle. Some of the criteria of the scout rifle have to do with length, weight, configuration, caliber size, and a little bit into accessories. Although from what I've read and kind of the gist of I got it, accessories is something that Jeff Cooper was kind of, it'd be a good idea, but it doesn't have to have it. Okay, so let's get started. Let's show you a couple. Okay, my first scout-ish rifle that I own is one that I didn't do anything to. This is a Bruno Mauser that someone had cut down. It's got an 18-inch barrel on it. It's still got a military stock. Okay. It's still an 8mm Mauser. And it's just a handy little rifle to have. In fact, this is my truck gun. This is the one I let run around in the truck with. It gets beat up, it gets knocked around, and it'll do the job. This wandered into our gun shop years ago, and it came in with a collection, and it had a really low value to it. And they put a really low price on it, and I didn't even haggle over the price. When I found it, I said, okay, I'll take that. Actually got it out from under another employee that was thinking about it, and so that'll teach them. Don't stop and think about it, you just get it. But this has been a handy little rifle. It's a little on the heavy side for a scout just because of the extensive amount of wood on it. But I kept all that just because all that wood, it makes it a little tougher. It lets it get, banged against a tree or bounced around in the truck without any kind of damage. I left it with just the iron sights. I don't need an optic for it. This is an emergency gun that I keep in my truck if I'm out and about and something happens and I need to either get into or out of the fight or need to get back home and I need something more than just a handgun. This is what I got. Okay. So this is kind of the concept we're talking about. Short, handy. Handiness really is what defines the scout rifle. It needs to be a handy gun. It needs to point easily. It needs to shoulder easily. It needs to aim easily, and it needs to be powerful enough to do the job. Again, this is an 8mm Mauser, so it's got plenty of power. It fails in caliber as far as scout rifles go because it wouldn't qualify as what Jeff Cooper said as far as selecting the caliber of the gun is that it needs to be powerful enough to take down medium to large game as well as humans and readily available for your area. The 8mm Mauser really is not that easily available. And when I mean easily available, if you can walk into your Walmart or any gun shop that has sold ammo in the past 75 to 100 years, you're probably not going to find 8mm Mauser. If you walk into your average gun shop, you may, but not every gun shop's going to have it. So that's what I'm talking about, readily available ammo. Okay, let's move on to a gun that I specifically built for a scout. And let me grab something here. There we go. Okay. Just so you know, safety, as I said before in a previous video, never have live ammo on your workbench. This is not live ammo, these are dummy rounds. There is no primer, there is no powder. And I know that because that's the only thing I keep in the shop area of the gun shop. If you want actual live ammo, you got to go out into the sales floor. It's not back here. Okay, so that's safety. All right, this is a scout rifle I built. It is built on a Mauser 98 action. The reason I did a Mauser 98 is a couple of different reasons. One, I really love the Mauser 98 action. If I had to pick just one action that I had to build all of my rifles on, and I couldn't change to any different one, it would be the Mauser 98. I love it that much. The big giant claw extractor, you know, the controlled round feed, just the ruggedness and durability of the gun is top notch. So I started with that action. Bent down the bolt handle, or repositioned it rather, not bent, it's been cut off and redone. Put a forward scope mount on it. Okay, in the scout position, put a Leupold long eye relief fixed power scope on it. I have ghost ring rear sight, and I have a hooded front sight that's banded. I prefer a banded front sight because it's more durable. Just the screw-on ones are fine and they work. However, screws break. This band is not going to break. I mean, you would have to get on this with a hammer and mallet or something and really go at it to get that thing to even rotate with the manner in which it's put on. So that's why I went with the banded front sight, and I like the hood because when you're looking through it, you have your ghost ring in the back, and then in the front you have another ring with a bead in it. And that really gives you like a circle within a circle, so it makes it, to me, it just seems to make it a little faster. And in an emergency situation, like when you know, if something furry with a lot of teeth is bearing down on you quickly, what's great about a banded front sight is if you just fill that front, if a hooded front sight, if you just fill that front hood with fur, you're going to hit the animal. Okay, it may not be the kill shot, you know, extraordinaire, the one shot, yeah, got him, but it is going to hit the animal, and, you know, hopefully it's in the right spot to where it does stop them, or at least turn them around and get them going in another direction. So that's why I like front sight hoods. I put this in a Hogue stock. This is the rubber over molded Hogue. It's really grippy, it's really lightweight, it's hollow. It works very well. I mean, for an action that's heavy like this one is, it does work very well. The downside is you do lose a little bit of rigidity. So it's got a little bit more flex to it than you would normally want, but it still functions just fine for a scout rifle. Now the caliber on this one that I chose is different, and most people will say, well, that doesn't qualify for a scout caliber. However, I kind of beg to differ. So once I chose the Mauser 98 action, and there were features that I wanted that are on the Mauser 98 that you're not going to find with a whole lot of modern firearms, and I'll go over that in a minute. But once I chose that, the Mauser 98 is a long action. It is designed for the 8mm Mauser, and it's a long out. It's long. Once you have that, what would really be the benefit of using a 308? Not a lot, because it's a short action. Now it would function just fine, but if you have the extra room already, why not use a caliber that's a little bit more powerful? So for this gun, I chose the 30-06. So again, we have a round that is powerful enough to take down medium to large animals. Actually, just about any animal. In fact, I'll dare to say that the 30-06 has taken down every animal on the North American continent at one time or another during its history. So with the 30-06, it gets me a little bit more power. And I know there are some people out there that are going to be saying, well, you can pump up the power on a 308 and get the same, get close to the same ballistics as you can on a 30-06. And to that I say, yeah, but I can bump up the power on a 30-06 and get close to the same ballistics of a 300 Win Mag. So, let's compare apples to apples. The 30-06 is more powerful. One of the features that I wanted on the Mauser is the stripper clips. You'll notice that this one does not have detachable box magazine. There is a company that makes one for these, but I didn't want that. I wanted a gun that is all in itself, okay? Now, when I say all in itself, when you have a gun that has detachable box magazines, you have to have magazines for it to function well. Now, yeah, you can single load rounds, but you're basically taking your gun from a multi-shotgun to a single shotgun, and that's going to slow you down a lot if you lose the magazines or don't have them. And I wanted one gun that, at least in my collection, that I could just grab this and grab ammo, whether the ammo is loose or it's on a stripper like this. And what's handy about this is you put that in there and you're loaded. You can push, that gets pushed out with just the bolt, but there you go, you're loaded. This is the only extra weight you've got, and that weighs far less than any magazine you're ever going to find, even the polymer ones. I mean, you're not going to find anything that light. So when if you're in the prepping crowd and you're looking at these, that's something to consider, because in a real emergency, I mean, are you going to have a lot of access to magazines? They get damaged, they get broken, they get stepped on, they get crushed, they get lost. Ask any soldier that's been in combat and ask him if he's ever lost magazines. And yeah, all the time. So, having a gun that doesn't require magazines is very beneficial. So that's why, again, I went with the Mauser. Now, if I was going to build another one and I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter, I would probably use the Yugo M48 action or the M24s, because they're a little bit shorter, or even the Swedish Mausers, the Mauser 96. Outstanding action for this type of work. It's short, it's lighter. You couldn't beat it. It would be a great gun to do it. And in that one, I would do 308. Now, keep in mind, if you're overseas, your scout rifle may not be a 308. Remember, you want to do ammo that's readily available in your area. If you're in Europe, that round may be 6.5 by 5.5 Swede. If you look into it, and that round is pretty much the 30-06 of Europe. So that's really going to be a beneficial round over there, whereas a 308 might not be as available. So this is my first scout. It's too heavy to qualify as a scout, as a pure scout, as far as Jeff Cooper would put it. It does have all of the other features that are desirable in a scout, once you put the sling on it anyways. The action is a little bit longer, so yeah, it's going to slow down your loads a little bit, but you do get a more powerful round in it, and it's all about a give and take. So, like I said, for this gun and for the prepping world, I would recommend one of these. And for anybody who is a prepper, or somebody who's just concerned about government overreach and stuff like this, especially you guys out in California, everybody in California should have a scout rifle. And the reason I say that is because what do the politicians always say when they try to enact new gun laws? they always say, oh, we're not coming after your hunting rifles. Now, I'm not stupid enough to believe that they're not going to come after the hunting rifles, but what that does tell me is that the hunting rifle is the last one they're going to come after. So, this is a hunting rifle. It can also fight, it can also defend, it can also be used as a limited range sniper rifle, and it can go get you game if you need to. So, if you're in California, or New York, or Illinois, you guys should be buying these guns like you wouldn't believe, like crazy. Because they're coming for you, buddy. And even here in Colorado where I am, they're starting to, and boy are we ever fighting that as hard as possible. It's very difficult because we do have a lot of transplants from some very liberal areas of the country, and they're kind of ruining Colorado for us. But that's another conversation. Okay, moving on. So, in the scout rifle that we're going to be building, and I'm going to be building 3 of them. They're all pretty much going to be the same configuration with a few differences as far as final finish and a few of the accessories. So let's start with the action. Now, we're going with a Remington Model 7 action. Not the 700, the Model 7. If you're not familiar with the Model 7, it is a short, super short 700 action. Okay, the Model 700 comes in 2 action lengths, long action, short action. This is shorter than the 700 short action. Okay, and you can see the biggest difference you'll see is the thickness of that bridge there. It is very short and stubby compared to a short action Model 700. So this is what we're starting with here. Now this action, Brownells had gotten a grip of these in. I think they were either an overrun from Remington or they were factory seconds or something. I'm not sure which one, but they got a grip of these things in and they were cheap, like $269. So we all bought these up. Now they were all 300 blackout, which of course we're not going to use that at all. The downside is the bolt face, okay, is the smaller for like a 223 or the 300 blackout in this case. So we're going to be opening that up to accept the 308, and the action itself won't need any modifications because it's already overly long for and opened up for the universal size for this type of action. Okay, some of the things we're going to be changing on it. A couple of us are using a Winchester 70 style safety on it, the side swing safety. I prefer this type of safety. This is what's going on mine. One of the other guys is. The other guy is sticking with the Remington safety, Remington style safety. I prefer these because when this one is in the safe position, it separates the cocking piece from the trigger sear. And it's a little bit safer. So the standard Remington safety, okay, and we're going to be using Timney triggers, and that's the safety there, if you can see that. Here's one that's out of the box. Okay, the standard, Remington style safety for these guns, it keeps the trigger from moving when it's in the on position. Okay, so it can't release the sear. By separating the cocky piece from the sear, you remove any possibility of it falling at all. If there's any kind of damage or malfunction, which they don't, especially on a Timney trigger, they don't really malfunction. It's just a preference. It's a personal preference that is going to be a safer safety. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with using the other style. Again, it's a personal preference. Okay, barrels, Schillen barrels, lightweight. This is actually the #1 contour Schillen barrel. It is a 30 caliber blank. We're going to be chambering and threading it. Doing all that, we'll be cut it down, put a crown on it. The barrel length that we're going for is 19 inches, and we're trying to keep the overall length of the gun under 1 meter, and I think we'll do very well on that. Now, yeah, you could technically cut it down to 16.5 and still be a perfectly legal gun, but you're going to lose a little bit of velocity cutting it down quite that far, so you want to try and keep it as long as possible to maintain your power levels to the 308, okay? We're going to be putting in a much thicker recoil lug on this gun. I'm using a Tubbs They're ground concentric. You know, they're perfectly squared, and they're really thick, and that's going to help spread out the recoil and keep the gun solid in the stock. We're going to be putting Badger bolt knobs on them to make it a little easier to work that bolt, give you a little bit more length to it. Don't know if that would be something Jeff Cooper would go for or not. You'll have to ask somebody who knew him personally, because I don't know. Okay, stock. We're going with a Bell & Carlson. It's a really lightweight stock. It only weighs 2 pounds, and it does have an aluminum bed in it, and it's really rigid and really strong. It already comes with a 13.5-inch length of pull, which I like a shorter length of pull on my rifles because it shoulders a little bit faster. The only downside of that, if you're using a scope in the standard position, you can get bit in the eye if you're not careful and you don't have it set up right. So, but with a scout scope and it being mounted forward, that's not an issue. So, because, you know, it's not going to come back, definitely not going to come back that far. So, I like the shorter length of pull. This is a great stock. It's really rigid, really strong. It's going to work well for our scout rifles. Okay. Scope mounting, we are going to have both scopes and iron sights, as determined by Jeff Cooper. You want a redundancy there. If the scope breaks, you know, you kind of have something else to go with it. So that's what the iron sights are going to be for. The scope mount is actually one that I am going into production on. It'll use the Tolly mounts. It'll be made up to the barrel just like that. Nobody's making scout scope mounts really in a production level, unless it's specifically for the Ruger gun sight scout rifle. I don't know why, but since nobody is, I'm going to start going into production on these. I'm starting with 4 different barrel contours, the Schillen 1 through 4. Those can be adapted to most any other rifle by a good gunsmith, can fit those no problem. This one here is actually a 3D printed variant, so, you know, of course it's not strong enough to actually go on a gun. I'm just using it as a model to show you. We're going to start off with standard blued steel, and then we'll be moving on to aluminum or titanium at a later time, depending on, you know, demand, you know, who wants one. So if you have a rifle you want to convert into a scout rifle and you're looking for a forward mount, keep an eye out for these. You'll be seeing them soon. Okay? So that's our build. Let me go back to this rifle real quick and show you one other thing. The reasons that you want the scope mounted forward. Okay? So a long eye release scope in itself offers some benefits. One, you can definitely do a bolt eye open type of shooting and get good accurate shots and still keep your full field of view for any approaching hazards or dangers. So that's one benefit. The other benefit is keeping access open to the charging area for the gun, for loading area. Again, you saw me use the stripper clips on this one, and if the scope was mounted back here, I couldn't do that. If you're just loading one round, having full access to this area will speed up that load. And that's what the gun's all about, the handiness and quickly getting rounds on target. So that's why the scope mounting forward position is really important to the concept of the scout rifle. You know, a lot of people will get a scout rifle and then put the scope back here. It's kind of defeating the purpose. Even if you have a magazine-fed one, there might be a situation where that magazine's empty and you just need to get around in there and get a shot on target. So I don't recommend doing that on a scout rifle. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of it. So that's the story behind a forward-mounted scout mount. Okay. Okay, folks, so that's going to wrap up our video on the scout rifle. Now, this has just been a quick overview, kind of a down and dirty explanation of the scout rifle. There's a lot more information out there. If you want to know more about it, I do recommend Jeff Cooper's book, The Art of the Rifle. It's going to give you probably the best information you can get on a scout rifle, the concept behind it, uses and stuff like that. When these guns are done, we are going to send one of them down to Tom Russell down at American Firearms Academy in Texas. If you're not familiar with Tom, he was one of the few people that were certified as a master instructor by Jeff Cooper. Out of the hundreds of people that Jeff Cooper worked with, he only certified like 6 or 7 people as master instructors, and Tom Russell is one of them. So his opinion holds a lot of clout. So he's going to review the gun, he's going to tell us how close we came, he's going to tell us his thoughts on it. Who knows, he may even want one for himself. So look forward to that at the end of the series. These builds should go pretty quick in comparison to like the trigger job for the Smith & Wesson. Rifle builds are surprisingly fast. There's just not a lot that you have to do in comparison, especially when you're using good components like, you know, Timney triggers and stuff like that. So look forward to the videos. Keep tuning in. If you're looking to convert your own rifle to a scout rifle and you're looking for a scope mount, keep an eye out for my quarter ribs. As I said, I'm going to be going into production on those soon. So keep your eye out for that. The first runs will be blued steel, and then later on we may move into aluminum and titanium depending on demand. So look forward to that. And thanks for tuning in. This is Scott with Dorsten Custom Firearms, your friendly neighborhood gunsmith, and I'll talk to you next time.